Today I'm going to talk about all of the journals that I used up in 2024. There's a lot here, but they're not all different kinds of journals. There's multiple journals, as you will soon see, but I will show you quickly my list of the journals that I used up so you can see what's coming up in the video. So there are 11 journals and planners that I used up in total in 2024. And by used up, I mean I'm not going to keep using it this year. So I wrote here, technically, I also used up my 5-year diary because I used up 1 year, but I'm still using it, so I'm not counting that. But there are 11 that I did use up. There are 3 morning pages journals that I used up, 2 life archives, 1 weekly, 1 commonplace, 1 2024 overview, a daily planner, a daily log, and a little passport insert for my Bali travel journal. So I still have 2 left to backlog. Actually, I have the market journal from 2024 and then my travel journal from Japan. Some of these I actually finished technically in 2025, but the majority of the content, like the writing, was from 2024. So just a small disclaimer there, but so you know what's coming up. So I guess I'll just go in the order that I wrote it down just for simplicity. But let me clear everything because we will start with the morning pages. So I used up 3 morning pages journals. These are old journals that I was trying to use up. I didn't buy any new journals because I still had a bunch to use up. So I think that morning pages, if you're really trying to use up your journals, morning pages is one of the best ways to use it up in my opinion, because it's just so easy. There's no decorating needed. You just write. And while I can't show you my morning pages because they are quite personal, I can tell you that I got through them very quickly, just writing, not even daily. I don't really write on the weekends. I don't write on Saturday and Sunday generally. There are some days that I do miss a morning pages session. It just depends on, what's on that day. But typically I start my morning with morning pages and I write on 2 pages. So that's even less than Julia Cameron recommended. She did recommend, I think, 3 A4 pages, but for me, 2 pages of this size works really well for me. So I think on the front, I don't know if I stamped this one. I did. So I started with this from the 1st of January until the 30th of April. So that lasted me several months. I can just kind of show you to prove that I have written in it. I used up old ugly pens in here just to use it up. Morning pages, I didn't have to think about. It was my ugly journal. I'm not going to read this back. If I run out of space, these are going to be the first things I throw out. I'm still going to hang on to them until I need to throw them out, kind of thing, but I'm not attached to them because morning pages are the perfect reminder for me that it's about the journey, like it's about the process, not the end result. And as someone that struggles with perfectionism, this is a really important practice for me. There are so many other benefits to morning pages, but one of them is a practice in letting go of perfectionism, and just, it's quite a meditative process of just getting your thoughts out. And anyway, there's so much that I could say about it, but this one was from, I think this was after. I believe this is what I used second, so from May to August. And again, I believe there was a lot of pink. Yep, a lot of pink in this one. And then I switched to a blue. Again, ugly pens. I sticker bombed it. This was actually a journal that my husband got for free from his workplace and then didn't use it up. So I was like, fine, I'll use it up. So morning pages don't have to be anything special, especially if you already have, other pretty journals. You don't want all of your journals to be precious. So for me, morning pages, again, just the perfect practice in getting my thoughts out, but learning to be messy and, not take things so seriously. The 3rd morning pages journal actually did not start off as a morning pages journal. It was kind of like a notes journal, just like messy notes. Sometimes I had extra thoughts that I wanted to get out, and I had this because I wasn't really daily logging at the time. And so this is kind of how my daily log evolved, because I had thoughts during the day and I just didn't know where to put them. And I just needed a space to write down. That wasn't part of the morning pages. It was just like not quite a journal entry, but just thoughts on the day, sometimes ideas that come up. So assessment tracker, even when I was studying before I deferred. So it was just, look, packing list for a trip. It was just an everything journal. I have since continued this journal in a different journal now, but I decided to turn this into a morning pages journal. I'm trying to think of where I did it. I was planning out some stamps in here. So it was very much just like a brainstormy kind of journal, which worked really, really well for me. But because I moved into a weekly insert, my own weekly insert, I didn't feel the need for this as much. So this was very much daily logging before I was daily logging. And then after this, I don't think I did stamp it. So from the 13th of August to the 23rd of December, which is what I did here as well, the rest of this journal became morning pages. So again, a perfect way to use up a journal that maybe has kind of lost its purpose. There's still a lot of blank pages and you don't know what to do with it. You could treat it as a very non-committal morning pages. The amazing thing about it is that there's no one to judge you. Like, if you don't show anyone, there's no one to see what you're writing. It doesn't matter how messy it is. Again, use all the ugly pens, like use fun stickers, use it however you want. There is no rules with it. Even the number of pages, is up for debate. But this has got to be my favorite style of journaling because it's just so easy and consistent. And I am definitely continuing this year in morning pages, but I'm using a new journal because I'm rewarding myself because I have pretty much used up almost all of my old journals. Like, I don't have any other old ones to use up. I'm now in a Muji planner and that's going really well, but that's not about that. This is what I used up for morning pages. Next up on my list is the 2 life archives. So there are 2 because it wasn't a clean cut in the year. So I actually have had this journal for so long that I don't even remember when I bought this journal, but I started attempting to write in it in 2021, I believe. I believe that is 2021. Yes. So, I was on the right track. I was thinking of something like life archives where it wasn't really journaling, but I wanted to document memories and I just didn't know how to go about doing it. But in 2021, I tried it. I even documented my engagement, the proposal, and then some moments 2022. So I stopped in December 2021, picked it up again April 2022, and just couldn't commit to it. Even my writing is just so different. These lines are just so big. But the point I'm trying to make is you can start a journal, fall off, and come back, fall off, and come back again and really stick to it. But the point is, it's okay. It's okay to fall off. I came back in October 2023. So last was April 2022, nothing since, and then October 2023. And this was, oops, you can't see that. This was the moment where I really stuck with it. And I started printing out photos, and I've already done a flip through of this, but I quickly fell in love with just documenting really mundane moments, like moments at my desk, things that I bought. I honestly, like I said in the video of the flip through, I honestly do not go out very much. And so the things that are exciting to me are very, very small. Again, things that I bought, new books that I bought, and just it's all important, even business highlights sometimes. But it felt so nice to be able to have a place to finally, put photos from my camera roll, and I started doing markets in here. It was just really nice to flip through because a lot of these memories I would forget pretty much as soon as the moment was gone, but printing them out, it was really nice. So this is the very first live archives that I used up, and I was able to start that in October 2023, and I finished this. I don't know if I stamped it. I did not. I finished this. Why is there no date? Why is there no date? I believe 25th of May 2024. So I finished it halfway through the year because it took me a while to get into it. There are some days where I didn't backlog very much, but I did manage to finish this entire journal, which was such a feat for me. And yeah, it became a really, like, from a journal that I hated, it became really, really precious because of the memories inside there. So in May 2024, last year, I then moved into this. This did not start out intending to be a life archives journal. I bought this because I thought it'd be lovely for just daily kind of, again, I wasn't daily logging. I just went through so many attempts of trying to find a system that worked for me in terms of like writing down little notes from the day. And so this week, the monthly is empty pretty much after this. I can still backlog this, and I think that would be nice. It's honestly such a beautiful planner, but I just couldn't make it work. So I started off doing it like this, which I really enjoyed, but it didn't feel right. Even though I liked how it looked, it wasn't working. And I quickly realized that I like to ramble. When I write, I like to write a lot. And so the act of writing for me, I realized, is very soothing, very much a self-care practice. And so I needed more space to write. And so what I did was, because it's a page per day, I then made it 2 pages per day. I mean, eventually. Here we go. I then dedicated 2 pages for a day. And I was like, that kind of works better, but it still didn't feel like enough room. I wasn't loving how it looked. It wasn't connecting with me. And so I was sad, because I wasn't really sad, but I mean, I was a little disappointed because I really wanted this Midori to work because I love it so much. I love how other people use it. And I had so many pages left and I didn't want to waste it. But eventually I thought I could, once I finished this, because I was using this at the same time as this, I figured once I use up my life archives, I will move into here. So this is the very last spread that I did in here, which I like the look of, but writing in here just didn't work for me for some reason, even though I love how it looks. So then in June 1st, I made this my life archives journal because I wanted to make it more about photos. I felt like, there was too much writing in here that it was a bit hard to keep up with. So I was like, maybe if there's, more of a focus on photos and less on writing, I'd be able to keep up with it a bit more. And it did help. But I also didn't love the Midori for photos because it's such a thick journal. I don't think it works very well. And I have finished, backlogging the entire year in here, but I will say that I'm not going to buy this again for photos. I just felt like I was really limited in terms of the layout. Again, I love the size, but it just wasn't working quite for me. Like I don't know. Unfortunately. So I didn't love being in here, but I was just super glad that I did find a different way to use up this journal as much as I could. So the very last day is here, December 31st, and I still have all of these blank pages, but I'm okay with that because I did my best. I could have stopped here. But I ended up using a lot more. So, I did my best. So in terms of like using up journals, it doesn't mean every single page is filled out. It's like, I used it up for the year as best as I could. And yes, there are some blank pages, but it is still a collection of photos from the year. And honestly, it was a good lesson in learning what I liked and what I didn't like. So being in a journal you don't like really teaches you what you do want as well, because you don't really know what you want until you start journaling in a particular journal, and then you realize, oh, I like this, I don't like this. So I use this as one, a lesson in patience, but also to figure out what I do want from my life archives. So those are the 2 life archives journals that I used up. Next up is my weekly planner, which is not really a planner. I bought it to do weekly highlights, I believe. So I used this from April to November. There's technically one I used before this, but I started this one, I think, in 2023. For some reason, I didn't date this one at all, but I think I started it in July 2023, and then I finished it April 2024. So I guess I technically did finish this as well. But oh man, I I struggled with this. So, okay, I'll show you what I did. This is such a cheap journal from Muji and it's beautiful, but this weekly layout does not work for me. And I wish I tried it out before I bought two, because there are so many pages in this, which is a great thing for the price. But I started out, I think, planning my week, and then it became like a log of what I did. So that there I was planning, and then it became a log of what I did, events, and then I used a week, per page, and it became kind of highlights, just like a week overview. I was using stickers. I thought it was cute, but it quickly became really tedious because I was writing the same thing. I already have a daily planner, so I didn't really need this, and so I kept experimenting. And it was cute, but I wasn't loving it. Again, I don't mind the way it looked. It just didn't feel sustainable, and I wasn't like looking forward to updating it, which for me is a sign that I don't want to be in there. Yeah, it became kind of a highlights thing, which honestly was useful to look back on when I needed to like backlog any highlights. But I was like, this is just going to take me so long. I didn't love how heavy on the writing it was. Again, this layout just doesn't work for me. And then what I did was make 2 pages per week to try and use up the week faster. So on one side, I put the highlights, and on this side, I put kind of weekly tasks and expenses, and I was using stickers to track when I worked out, Instagram, all that stuff. And it worked for a little bit. Wasn't loving it still. And then eventually, I did this for a long time. I'm very good at sticking things out, even when I hate it. But eventually I was like, maybe I want to track the movies that I watch and the books that I read. And it started off being so fun. I loved seeing, the visual layout of it. But quickly realized that I am not reading and watching 4 things in a week. It just so happened that this week I was. And then it quickly dropped down to 3, sometimes 2, especially when we're watching like a TV show. And then I hated filling out the reviews because I'm not a big review person. I make comments throughout the book, but I keep all of that on Notion. I don't actually need to write it down, and I don't see myself, looking back at this at all. But I did enjoy seeing what I watched that week, what I read that week. So I really enjoyed it in the beginning. I dropped down to 3, as you could see, and then I just stopped reviewing stuff. I tried to backlog, and then I just gave up on the highlights side, as you could see. But this was the very first half of 2024, and then this was the second half. This was a little bit more painful. Look, I didn't even do reviews, so I'm still counting this as a user because I was in this. I tried, and I'm not going to go back and backlog it. So again, just highlights on one side and media on the other. Again, all of this stuff is in Notion. I track all my books in Notion, so I just didn't feel the need to. I honestly found this kind of boring. So I just wasn't looking forward to it. And again, that's my sign of whether or not a journal is working for me. If I'm looking forward to updating it, how easy it is to update, how satisfying it is to be in it. So as you can see, did not write the reviews, but still stuck down the photos, which is okay. And it's not, it wasn't the worst way to use up the pages. So I was glad I had a way to keep using it up that wasn't terrible. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. I then started, because I wasn't a fan of the movie posters sometimes, I then started to print out screenshots from the movie. And I feel like this made it a bit more journaly, which I didn't mind. So this was towards the end, so I had a lot more fun with it. Towards the end, I started printing out these screenshots, printing out bigger images because I was like, it was too small before, so continually doing trial and error within the bounds of the system in order to try to make it work because it was working well. I was just trying to make it a little bit more fun for myself. I went to Bali this week. I know instantly from the books that I read. So there was a lot of reading that week. I had a market this week, so only 1 book read, no movies. Screenshots, honestly, this is fun, but didn't love it at the time. It was just okay, but I did the best with what I could. Again, I am a big proponent of using up what you have, and when it's, not the most fun, using that as a lesson to just kind of experiment with what you like. And I do feel like that this kind of process of printing out screenshots and writing about it and, thinking about the movie in a different way slightly. I mean, like not this is just for fun, but I think it did help with my commonplacing a little bit as well. But to me, the screenshots were much more meaningful than the movie posters for me. So, yep, that is it. Howl's Moving Castle. And then I was in Japan, so no more shows, but I was reading. Still managed to read 2 books a week while I was in Japan. It got a little messy, I was just doing whatever with the layout, but that is the very last one. And that's it. So I can't even tell you how relieved I was to use this up, because this was a struggle. But these are my weekly journals from Muji. Again, great book. It's just not for me. The layout, I just can't do horizontal. Something about the spacing of it, I think vertical height, Anyway, this is an A5, but so relieved to use this up. Next up, I'm going to take off my jumper. It's quite hot. Next up is the commonplace. So this thing was a journey. I started a commonplace, of course, because of Megan Rhiannon. I was super inspired by her layouts and how she did it, and just how, I don't know, how simple and minimal, but like really emotional it looked. And I never ever thought I would need or want a commonplace. And then eventually I could see kind of the gaps in my journaling, that I didn't have a place to put things down that I was learning. So I started a commonplace very much as a learning journal, but also it kind of evolved into like a personal thoughts journal as well. And I know I have the daily log for that, which you will see in a second, but sometimes you just want to go deeper into a topic. Like you have certain thoughts on a topic, and I just need a place to write all that down. And so this is what this became. At the beginning, it was lovely. This was the original key that I used. I wrote quite a bit, researching. I put my own personal things in there. I quickly realized that I didn't want this in here. I wanted personal things, like personal cute memories in the life archives rather than in the commonplace. Making notes on a video, writing down notes on like a pen refill. So I realized that a lot of the information I do consume just quickly leaves my brain. I don't have a good memory, and I shouldn't be relying on my memory. And so anything that I learnt, even a movie that I watched and just like my thoughts on that, I put it in here, and it was working really well. And then somehow I just got so precious with it that I couldn't use it anymore. So November 2023, November, I wrote a lot in November. It was working well. And then somehow December, I'm going to skim through this. I think I stopped, March. That's January 2024. Oh, yep. And then I skipped straight to March and then skipped straight to April. So I fell off a little bit with the commonplacing because I was just being so, like, I wasn't clear on what I wanted this to be. And I think there was a lot of times when I would stop myself from writing in here. Like, I would question whether it was good enough, whether it belonged. And so I fell off. And what am I even talking about here? A case for doing things you don't like, a little personal kind of essay there, just thoughts on that. A poem, started to come back and put media, YouTube photos that I liked. So I did try to come back. That was April, May, June. And I think I fell off after this. When was this? July? Not too bad. Okay, no, I was really in it in July. I really kept trying to come back. Even though I had those moments and I lost momentum, I kept trying to come back. Okay, so August was the last date, and then I jumped to November. I fell off again. And so I think November is when I was like, nope, this is it. I'm committing to it. I'm writing anything and everything in here. I'm not going to hold myself back. And from then on, I really committed to it. Like here, this random page is like, I can do a flip through of this if you want like more details on how I actually use this, but I was just calculating the estimated cost of a fountain pen refill compared to my Muji pens. I was just trying to break it down because I was really curious like whether or not it was actually cheaper. But oh, I have a photo I'm meant to put there. I forgot to print that out. Writing about dashi, like a food cooking thing, which is not something I typically put. Learning about DaVinci Resolve, that's a program I use to edit, just something about the stabilization there. So yeah, now we're in December and I really committed to it in December, and the rest of this book is pretty much December. Yep, that's a lot. I surprisingly just really like went all out with it, and I'm so glad I did because I had the best time with it. And I also finished this in January, so I think that was the last entry for December, but I had 2 pages left. So I just wrote some more things in January and I finished on the 3rd of January. And then once I got into the routine of writing in here, it just became so much more enjoyable and I really looked forward to being in here. So after like 3 failed attempts, I really managed to come back and be in here. Same thing with the life archives. So again, it's fine if you fall off, but if it's something that you really want to be in, just keep tweaking, just keep trying different ways, just keep thinking about, you know, what's stopping you, what would make it easy for you to be in here. But I did manage to finish this, and this is a moleskin, I don't know what it is. It's got like a PU leather cover. This was given to me by someone that was trying to get rid of their journal stash, so not even my own journal, but the size worked really well. But I didn't want to buy it again because it is an odd size, and I wanted to be in a TN insert, which is what I am now. But this is the Commonplace Volume 1, my very first attempt at Commonplace. I fell off many times, came back, managed to finally finish it, and I'm calling that a win for 2024. Next is the 2024 overview planner, which I don't have a proper name for, but it was meant to be just, you know, my vision board, letter to self, goals, intentions, see, lots of unused pages, but, you know, I haven't even done that either. I really need to do that too, actually. Books that I read in 2024, highlights that I never filled out, summary of the month, and then you would have seen in a recent video that I did highlights in photos, favorite new products and business highlights, and then personal highlights. So I pretty much almost used every single page. Again, it's fine that there are some blank pages to all my perfectionists out there. The point is you showed up and you tried to use it. So that's what counts. Look, plenty of unused space. But to me, it's better than leaving it completely blank. And from this, I was able to adapt my system and create an even better, more fitting 2025 overview planner. So this is a Midori, came in a 3-pack. It's A5, but I did cut it down to a TN standard size for 2025. Nothing really more to say about that. I feel like I've talked about this journal a lot, but that is my 2024 overview planner. Next up is my little workhorse, my daily planner. This is just my to-do lists. There is absolutely nothing special about this planner. I just filled out everything I need to do, like daily, just my to-do list. It was meant to be messy, no stickers apart from just, you know, the little social media stickers, but no complaints. This worked so well. I just wanted to try more of a weekly overview layout this week so I would have a better view of my week, but it served me so well. I love it. My little moleskin planner. Again, lots of pages in here that are actually blank, especially towards the end of the year because it overlapped with my 2025 planner, but I still consider this very much used up. No complaints there. This is the pocket size. Next up is the daily log. This I loved and also hated this at times. I had a complex relationship with this. I've had this journal since 2019. That's faded now, but that says 2019. The dates lined up perfectly in 2025, so I was like, of course, I have to use it. I didn't realize it until March, I believe. This is the very first page, March. So all of these pages are blank. I can always rip them out if I really want to use it, but from March until the end of the year, because it's dated, I was pretty much in it. There are a lot of blank pages, especially, I said that weird, especially when I was traveling. But if I never used this, I never would have realized that I wanted and preferred an undated planner so that I wouldn't be left with blank pages when I travel, when I'm at markets, even when I'm on the weekends when I'm too busy. So this is what it started out as. Again, is really similar to how I started in the other journal that I showed you, where it was just random thoughts throughout the day. I love letting the journal evolve with you. Again, for the perfectionist, you never really know what you need or what works for you through thinking about it. You really have to be in it. Just keep doing trial and errors, figuring it out. And eventually, it became something like this. I eventually made the columns a little bit bigger, like this, used different pens, lots of different stickers, lots of different layouts. I started doing this at the top to track the media there. I even started using the month planner like this to plan things out. That didn't work. So then I eventually came to tracking media in there. So I'm just showing you my examples of trials and errors to show you that you should keep tweaking. When something doesn't work, keep tweaking. What can I do just slightly differently? If you are determined to use something up, what can I do slightly differently to use this up? Again, lots of blank pages. Some days I was too busy or wasn't in the mood to log, so I would just do it on a sticky note and come back to it. And some days I didn't come back to it, and that's okay. Some days I could only fill out half a page. Other days I ran out of space. And so, it was a very long journey for me in this, and I realized I don't want to be in the same journal all year. I think I preferred splitting it up halfway so I would have a little bit more variety, just something different. So it got really tedious towards the end, even though I loved being in here. It was an interesting kind of realization for me. So this is in November, and then again, tracking media and trying different formats, trying highlights, circles, just continuing to tweak little things. December looked like this, but towards the end, I absolutely fell off. I was not in the mood to backlog very much. Again, tried to write down notes, so at least I have this. The day is not completely lost, but yes, it was a struggle for multiple reasons. Towards the end I got busy with family stuff, but that's it. Oh, I want to keep this. This is shows that I want to watch. Shows and movies. So that is my daily log. I didn't like the hardcover of this. I didn't like the size. A5 is quite too big for me. I liked the paper. I liked the layout. I liked the light grid. It was not super fountain pen friendly, but honestly, I had so much fun experimenting with this, even though it got really tedious towards the end, that I really appreciate that process, and it led me to where I'm journaling today. This is what I'm using now for my daily log. As you can see, quite a bit smaller, and I knew I liked this size because I knew that A5 was too big, so I was like, let's try B6. And I wouldn't be in this layout if I didn't give myself a chance to experiment with it in an uglier journal, in a journal that I wasn't as committed to. I feel like when you're starting for the first time with a new type of journaling, you don't always want to go for the best planner. Use what you have lying around, be patient, and just try to figure out what works. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have started, doing this, because it took me almost an entire year to figure out what I liked, and it looked very different over time. I'm also using, I'll go into this in a different video, but I'm also combining life archives in my Stellology. But that is the daily log. And the very last thing, the very last journal that I used up was this tiny little passport, traveler's insert passport, traveler's insert passport size, that I had lying around, and I was like, hey, let's use it. Did I have it lying around, or did I buy it for this? I really can't remember. I wanted to use it for my Bali journal because I figured I wouldn't be writing so much. I really wanted it to be a really chill holiday. And so I figured it would just be photos. So I experimented with that, kept some ephemera. I did almost all of this. Like, I didn't print out the photos until I got home, but I did pretty much all of it once I got, back home. I did write a little bit while I was there. I can't say that I love this because the layout is not great, but I love the idea of having this little insert like for a trip. And so, like all of the trips you've been on are in like just contained within this little passport thing. So the next time I do it, I might be back in a passport, but experiment with different layouts. And I think I definitely want more ephemera if I could. There wasn't much ephemera I could get from this trip. Like, I got this coffee cup thing and I wrote under there. I got a little bit here. So I think I definitely prefer the ones with a bit of ephemera because it made it a bit more interesting for me, like receipts and stuff. I think when it's just photos and it's the same layout, it gets a little bit boring. But I did almost entirely use up this insert, which is very good. Very cool. Only had a couple of pages left. I think like three, 4 pages at the end. So I need to stamp the front of it with the date, but that is my little Bali insert. I'm pretty sure I had this lying around, so I wanted to try it. But that is the 11th journal that I used up in 2024. Again, I still have my travel journal and my market journal to use up. I'll quickly show you that now. So my Melbourne markets journal in 2024, because somehow I only did markets in Melbourne in 2024. I have a bunch of ephemera at the back that I would like to stick in eventually, but I still had quite a bit of pages here. But the beginning, I did quite a bit of it, and this was just really fun. I definitely want to continue doing this. Lots of blank space that I think I'm just going to leave. It gets to the point where, like, if it's been long enough, I don't want to force myself to go back and backlog it. Way too much writing there. Great lesson for me though, because this was kind of the first time that I really tried to do this kind of like travel journaling. But yes, I still have this to use up, but I did use this in 2024. And then of course, as you may have seen, my Japan travel journal, which still quite a few pages left, but I made really, really good progress on it. So once these are used up, these will count towards my journals used up in 2024. But that brings us to the end of the video. I hope that, like, the point of this video is just to hopefully give you some ideas on how you can use up your journals. Not that you have to, but if you're watching this, if you're watching me, then you probably want to use up your journals, because I think, yes, it's so fun to buy new things and use it, but I think for me personally, the real satisfaction comes from, discovering things in the process of journaling, like really sticking to it, like not just giving up once and never coming back to it. Like, if you're really committed to it and you really want to explore it, just keep coming back, just keep experimenting, keep trying different things. And I guess the message is, like, try not to be a perfectionist about it. Learn to embrace the messy process, because if you are too precious with your journals, then you'll never finish it. You'll never give yourself permission to just be in your journals, to just have fun with them. So all of this to say, keep trying. I am a huge perfectionist with things needing to look perfect, to be perfect, things needing to make sense. As you can tell, I compartmentalize everything, but it's all a process, so allow it to be a process. Again, I was in a lot of old journals. You don't need fancy journals. You can start in really crappy ones, but hopefully you got some ideas on how to use up what you currently have, how to, come back to something that you really wanted to do, but just couldn't find the momentum for. Because I felt like everything I used in, almost everything I used in 2024 wasn't like a perfect journal. 2024 was very much an experimental kind of year for me in terms of journaling, to figure out what I liked, and a lot of things did not work. As I said, a lot of times I fell off because I didn't like it, and so I had to pivot. It's all a process, like I said. So hopefully that gave you some ideas. I'm not going to bring the stack back because that's just way too many things. But here's the little summary if you wanted to see it again, all of the different types of journals that I used up. I would say if you are really trying to use up old things and you don't know what to use them for, I would say have like a notes journal, especially if you have a business or social media, like you need to create content, just having a place where you jot down notes and just are really messy about it. Like don't worry about being perfect with it. Morning pages for sure, life archives for sure with the photos, and I would say just like a daily log, just writing down random thoughts that come up during the day. I think that's really fun, especially if you like writing and you just want to use up some pretty stickers. But that is the end of this video. This is my notes journal, by the way, that I'm currently using. I hope that was entertaining, maybe useful for you to see. I felt like I learnt a lot from the journals that I used in 2024. But I hope that was a nice compliment to my Techo Kaigi, because we all start the year with like plans for what we think we're going to use and how we're going to use it. But the reality is, how did you actually use it at the end of the year, and reviewing that, like what went well and what didn't go well. And based on that, how will you proceed with this year's journal? Just a little bit of a realistic kind of reflection on our journals and what's sustainable. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!